Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I guess they put me in the spot, so I was prepared for something different. But actually, I heard Sheikh Naif's Khatirah, which was yesterday, about. I put my notes in here. This is my notes, by the way. Yeah, the Khatirah about the 9. If you remember, the 9 pieces of advice. And he divided them into 3, 3, 3. Let me ask you a question. I came from an education background, so I always ask questions. Anybody want to tell us what was that khatir about? The 9 one? The 9, 3, 3, 3? No, you. Somebody else. Oh, the first 3, the never one, never do one. Never do any of them, so which is the comfort in life or something like that. I'll put one example. And the other one is basically the don't do anything, which those things, which is the attachment of your heart with anything else, any human being or somebody else, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the last one, actually, it's the other 3 is about taqwa, which is basically the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you do the good deeds. Now, my khatirah for today is actually, when I hear this, I was listening to that wonderful khatirah, so I just came to my mind some notes that I put together. I usually, when I hear something, I put notes. So here's my notes. Okay, so that was a long time ago, and it's about the title. If I want to put the title, one of the most important questions a believer can ask: where do I stand with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? What is my status in His sight? And though we may not receive direct answer, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us signs, indicators, or clear signs through our hearts, through our actions, and our surroundings. So let us reflect today on 6 of those sites that we want to focus on them, will get us close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So those sites, 4 of them, the ones that we do in order to get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. 2 of them we'll try to avoid to do them. And again, that's connected to what Brother Naif or Sheikh Naif did in his other khatirah. So the first one, let me name them. The 4 that we do is dhikr and reading Quran. Basically, if you are occupied with dhikr, if you are occupied with Quran, that's second. If you are occupied with ta'at, which is the act of obedience, or if you are occupied with dua, which is when you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for certain things. And those are the 4 that you do. And the other ones which you don't want to do and you want to avoid, if you are occupied or if you are obsessed with dunya, with factors of dunya, or if you are basically try to get an approval of people or somebody else. So that's basically the thing that triggered this khatirah. So those 6 things, I'm going to start basically to name them. So if you are constant in dhikr, which is remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and here's the good thing, know that Allah wants to remember you. So if you are occupied with dhikr, Allah wants to remember you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-Baqarah, فَاذْكُرُونِي أَذْكُرْكُمْ. So remember me, I will remember you. So if you find your tongue is remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the morning, sujood, while walking or driving, then know that He is mentioning you in a better gathering and among the angels. So this is not random, and actually it's a sign of the divine love. Allah will love you for that. And the second one, so this is the first one, the dhikr. The second one, if you are drawn to dua, know that He wants you to, or He wants to give you. So if you are drawn to dua, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to give you that whatever you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In Surah Al-Baqarah again, وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاعِ إِذَا دَعَانِ. And when my servant asks you concerning me, indeed I am near. I respond to the call of the caller when he calls upon me. And so dua is not just a request, it is a gift. If you are moved to raise your hands to in dua, that's a sign that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to give you something. Even before the gift that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would give you, the gift is He guided you to hear, so that He guided you so you hear your dua. You hear what He asks, what you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number 3, so first is dhikr, dua, and number 3 is if you are attached to the Quran, know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is speaking to you. So Quran is the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The book is not just recitation, it's actually conversation. It's a dialogue which was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In Surah Al-Isra, إن هذا القرآن يهدي للتي هي أقوم. Indeed, this Quran is guides to that which is basically most upright. And if the Quran touches your heart, if you read the Quran and try to understand it, and if you feel like peace in its recitation, if you are eager to understand the meaning of Quran, know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is opening a dialogue with you, and that's a big reward. And number 4 is if you are engaged in the act of obedience, know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to draw you near to Him. So, and this is, I really like this hadith, which is hadith al-Qudsi. وَمَا تَقَرَّبَ إِلَيَّ عَبْدِي بِشَيْءٍ أَحَبُّ إِلَيَّ مِمَّا افْتَرَضْتَهُ عَلَيْهِ وَلَا يَزَالُ عَبْدِي يَتَقَرَّبُ إِلَيَّ بِالنَّوَافِلِ حَتَّى أُحِبُّهُ. So my servant does not draw near to me with anything more beloved to me than the obligation I have imposed upon him. And he continues to draw near to me with voluntary deeds until I love him. So if you are praying, fasting, giving charity, helping others, it's not just the effort, it's the divine invitation. Allah is calling you closer to Him. And number 5 is, which is the one that you don't do, and that's what also Brother Naif mentioned. If you are obsessed with dunya, know that He has distanced you, or He has distanced you. Okay. And when your heart is obsessed with only in wealth, reputation, desire, and so on, this is not a sign of closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the last one, which is number 6, which is if you are always focused on people, know that He not only doesn't like Allah subhanahu, doesn't like, He's humiliating you. So it's a humiliation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if you focus on people. So I will kind of close with saying let's this to be the moment of awakening for us, because the one who walks to Allah, Allah go close to him. And whenever whenever it draws close to me, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is hadith al-Qudsi, when you draw close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the length of a hand, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will go with the length of an arm. And when you go close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with a length of an arm, which is 3 feet arm, 3 feet, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will go close to you in the length of a fathom. Fathom is about 6 feet, so it's a double one. And whenever you come to me, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, when you come to me walking, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, I will come to you running, and this is Hadith al-Qudsi. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevate our ranks, purify our hearts, and bring us closer to Him in every breath we take. اللهم اجعلنا من الذاكرين واجعلنا من التائبين واجعلنا من أهل القرآن ومن أهل الطاعات ولا تجعلنا من الغافلين. اللهم لا تجعل الدنيا أكبر همنا ولا مبلغ علمنا ولا إلى النار مصيرنا، واجعل الجنة دارنا وقرارنا. اللهم قربنا إليك، اللهم قربنا إليك، اللهم قربنا إليك، واصرف قلوبنا عن غيرك، وارض عنا واغفر لنا وارفع درجاتنا في الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات، وأدخلهم جناتك إنك قوي عزيز رحيم مجيب الدعوات. رب اجعلني مقيم الصلاة ومن ذريتي، ربنا تقبل دعاء، رب اغفر لي ولوالدي ورب ارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.